In this vlog, we are going to see the implementation of Stripe payment gateway in your Flutter application. So in our previous tutorial, we have seen in detail like how to create an account in Stripe and what are all the required things to be considered before getting started with implementation in our app level. That is, what are the API keys required and also what is the procedure to create an account in detail. I have explained in this particular tutorial. So if you have not watched this tutorial, I am providing the link in the description section below. Before getting started with this particular tutorial, I suggest you to go to this particular tutorial because it is very important step for you to be considered before starting the app level implementation. I have made this tutorial as easy as possible so that even a beginner who has not knowing much about payment gateway implementation can easily understand, and by the end of this tutorial and you will get a very good clarity on how to implement a payment gateway without any errors. So each and every step is covered in this particular tutorial. So watch this tutorial till the end and don't skip any part of the tutorial because every module is important to make a successful transaction. The very first step we need to consider here is like creating a payment intent. So what is a payment intent and why do we need it? So consider payment intent is a network API call which we make as to receive a client secret. What are we going to pass to this particular payment intent is nothing but the amount. Like you want to purchase a product which is worth 100 rupees. So here rupees is a currency of India, and when you consider US, United States, it's like US dollar, and based on different countries the currency will be changing, right? So just pass the amount and the currency here. Apart from that, you need to pass a secret key. So what is this secret key and from where do we get it? So in our previous tutorial, I have clearly shown you where this secret key exists in Stripe console. You may go through the particular tutorial to find out where the secret key and where is the publishable key. So these two keys are very much important for us to integrate our Flutter application with Stripe payment gateway. We are trying to pass amount, currency and secret key in this particular payment API call, and we are going to receive a client secret. So using this particular client secret, we are going to initialize our payment sheet. So what is a payment sheet? Using this particular sheet, the user will complete his payment. So we'll be going to see in detail in our next step. So for initializing payment sheet, we require a client secret which we will be getting on making an API call for payment intent. So in this initialization of payment sheet, there are other required things to be considered like merchant name we will be providing here and also billing details, shipping details. All these particular details we can provide in this particular payment sheet initialization step. But here I am going to make it much easy for you to understand and make it crystal clear for you such that you can add all the required things whenever you are trying to implement this particular tutorial. And try to see the last step, that is the display payment sheet. So once we have configured all the required things for our payment sheet, that is initialization, then the final step is to display the payment sheet. So whenever user taps on buy now button or any other button to make a purchase, then the payment sheet needs to be displayed. So before displaying, we have gone through the first two steps, right? Like payment intent and initializing payment sheet. So make sure these two steps are perfectly done so that in the third step you can easily make your payment based on the first two steps. So I hope this is a bit clear for you, but don't worry if you are not clear. So whenever we are going to start coding, I will be explaining you each and every line clearly. So now let's get started with the coding. So here the very first step here is to add Flutter Stripe dependency to our pubspec file here. and also I have added HTTP over here to make a network call. So in our channel we have dealt with various network calls examples here. So these are the few I am providing on the screen here, and the links for these tutorials are provided in the description section below. You may choose any of these libraries and start implementing the payment gateway. So now let's start with importing material.dart here and also void main. So these are all the basic steps, but I'm going to show you there are few things to be considered here. So by default we'll be specifying void main, but now we need to specify asynchronous void main because we need to make some initializations. So we need to initialize the Flutter binding here. So widgets Flutter binding dot ensure initialize, and the next step is to specify your publishable key here. So we have added Stripe, right? So using this particular library you need to specify the publishable key now. So here you can see we are not able to recognize the Stripe library here because we have not added an import statement here. So let's try to import this Stripe library, and now here you can see we have got publishable key, and for this specify the publishable key which you get from the Stripe console after completing your registration process. And now let's try to specify run app and try to specify our my app class here to get started with. And the very first thing I'm going to specify a stateless widget my app here, and inside let's try to return a material app, and inside the home I'm going to specify home screen here. So using the home screen class we are going to implement our complete payment gateway here. So for this particular class I'm going to specify only the basic part. We need to create one more class like home screen as we have specified. So home screen dot here, and this particular home screen will be now of a stateful widget. So let's create a stateful widget home screen, and the very first thing we need to do is we need to import it over here. And here you are able to see some errors, right? So we need to import material.dart here so that our stateful widget gets recognized, and also there is no error now. So this is the first step. I hope you have understood till here, and now let's try to start with the payment intent first. So payment intent is nothing but an API call, right? So let's try to start with the payment intent. And before going to the payment intent, let's try to complete our basic coding like providing a scaffold, and inside that let us try to specify an app bar, and in the app bar let us try to specify a title with the help of a text widget again, that is like Stripe payment, and now let's try to specify a body here. So using a center widget I'm going to specify a text button. So in the entire screen we'll be only having a text button here, and in the text button or any other button the main two things required are on press and child here. So using child again we are going to specify a text widget like buy now. So this is only the option we have in our application. So when you tap on this particular buy now button we are going to implement our actual payment gateway. So let's try to create a method called payment and get started with it. So you can just tap here and try to create the payment method here, and this payment method is of type future and asynchronous. So future of void and make it asynchronous so that there involves an API call, right? So we need to wait till the API call is made and we receive some response from it. So as we have discussed earlier, we need to make payment intent first. So let's try to specify a variable to capture the details of payment intent. So I'm going to make use of a map here, which is of type dynamic and string and dynamic. And using this particular map here, we are going to store the payment intent details after making an API call here. So let's try to include our code in try and catch block such that we can handle the crash scenarios easily. Let's specify here error and throw an exception when we get an error. And inside the try block, let's try to make an API call here. So string comma dynamic, and why I am making use of this particular map is to provide the amount and the currency here for our API call. So the first parameter is amount. Make sure you specify the same key names here, and here there is a small logic involved here. I have specified 100 as a payment, right? So we need to make a payment of 100 rupees, but at the time of providing to the Stripe, I'm going to specify it like 10,000. Why? Because so Stripe consider a decimal point over here, and this will become 100 rupees, not 10,000. So this is considered as 100 rupees and not 10,000 here. You can just also specify, and the currency you need to specify here. So for Indian rupee, I'm just specifying INR here as the currency code. These are the basic details we need to provide for API request. And apart from that, we need to have the secret key, right, which we get from Stripe console, and we need to specify that in our header section here. So let's create an HTTP post API call, inside which we need to specify our API. So the API is, you can get this particular API in the Stripe documentation here. So we have specified our API, and next comes the headers. So you need to specify the headers required to make this particular API call, and inside the headers, the first thing is like authorization, and for the authorization we need to specify the secret key. So here I will be specifying the secret key and also the publishable key at the end of the tutorial, but I suggest you to follow the previous tutorial and try to create your own publishable key and secret key and try to add them over here. Make sure you add them, because if you won't add, then you will not be able to make a payment. And the next thing is like content type. So you need to specify content type to be form URL encoded here. And again, this is also an important aspect to be make sure you specify, or else there will be again an error in your API call. And that's it. These are the details required, and that's it. These are the details required here to make an API call. And I have forgot to specify equal to here, and also we have not imported HTTP here. So let's go back to the import section and try to type HTTP, and here you will be getting http.dart here. And let's try to specify it like HTTP so that it will get recognized here, and currently there are no errors now. And finally we need to fetch the response here. So we have got our payment intent, right? Let's try to store our response in payment intent response dot body, and we need to enclose it inside JSON here, JSON dot decode, and here you need to also import dot convert here so that you can decode the response and try to store it in the payment intent. So this is our first step here to get the client secret. So this is our first step here. I'm going to specify this is our step 1, like payment intent, and we'll go to the second step now. So let's start with the step 2 here, that is initializing payment sheet, and let's try to specify Stripe, and here this time we are going to initialize our payment sheet by the client secret which we have received, instance dot, and here we are getting an error like we need to import the Stripe library and instance dot init payment sheet. So here you can also see Google Pay here. We'll be seeing the Google Pay part in our coming tutorial, and we have selected initializing payment sheet, and the first thing here we have got is like payment sheet parameters. So let us make use of setup payment sheet parameters here and try to provide the details now. So when you just hover on the setup payment sheet parameters here, you can clearly see like what are all the things we need to pass here. So we need to pass a customer ID, customer secret key here, and also merchant display name. All these details are there here clearly, and also billing details, payment sheet appearance, and also allowed payment methods, and all these things are there. So based on your requirement you can just specify all these things over here, that is in the initialization step. Now the first thing I'm going to specify here is like client secret which we got from our previous API call. Okay, so inside the payment intent we are having a client secret. Make sure you specify these key values as it is, because this is what we get from Stripe and we should not alter or change them, or else we'll be getting an error. Let us specify the style to be theme mode dot light. So here we are having various options like light, dark, and system here, and I'm just going to specify light here, and again light here will provide you a white color kind of background, and dark will provide you a black color kind of background here. So based on your requirement just select it. And the third thing I'm going to specify is like merchant display name, and for the merchant display name I'm just specifying my name here. So you can just customize the name of your business, so you can just add the name of your business over here, and then finally we'll be getting a callback here, and you can just make use of it as per your requirement. So this is a part of initialization of our payment sheet, that is the Stripe payment. And the third step and the final step is displaying the payment sheet so that user can make payment. Okay, so this is a final step here in payment gateway implementation. And again, when we want to implement Google Pay or Apple Pay, then I will show you how to implement them as well in our coming tutorials. So in this part of the tutorial I'm going to make a card payment. So let us try to display the payment sheet now. So inside the try catch again, just to make sure there is no disturbance in the user flow, I'm just trying to specify try catch, because if at all there is any error we can just easily handle it. So inside the try block here, let us specify Stripe present payment sheet here. So Stripe dot instance again, and present payment sheet here. So you have got an options like present Apple Pay, present Google Pay, and present payment sheet. So let's select present payment sheet, and again then we get a callback now. And this time you can make use of this particular callback, and here once the payment is successful, what you want to do and where do you want to redirect your user. So you want to make sure you provide a success message to the user, or you want to redirect to another screen where you want to specify all the details regarding his purchase, and of course in case of a failure what you want to show. All these things can be managed in this particular block of code here. Success state I'm just trying to specify here, and I'm going to make a print statement like payment success. And now let's try to run this particular code and try to make a payment now. So we have specified all the required configurations, and this time we should get a payment sheet and we need to make a payment successfully. So yes, we have got our payment sheet here, and I'm going to specify some dummy card details here. So this is a basic card which mostly we use for testing purpose. So I have specified month and CVC here, and in the country I'm going to specify India because I have specified the same in the coding level as well. So we need to specify India here, and also already you can see here 100 rupees is been specified over here. So in the payment intent we have passed the amount and currency code, right? So that is what is being reflected over here. And now let's try to tap on pay button here, and here you can see it will be successfully paid this time. And also we have got our print statement like payment successful is printed now. So this is how we can make a payment in Stripe payment gateway. So in our coming tutorials we'll also try to see the implementation of Google Pay and Apple Pay. And if you are really interested to, and if you are interested and looking forward for Google Pay implementation, just let me know in the comment section below, and the code for this tutorial I will be providing in the description section below. And if you like this tutorial, do like, share and subscribe to our channel for more interesting content on Flutter.